Everybody, and welcome. We're here for my intro to psych online classes. It is Wednesday, April 20th, and I see a bunch of you getting logged in, getting your names in the chat, which is fantastic. But good morning. We are in week number 14. We only have a couple of weeks left before our class is over. So thank you so much for all of you who are here with me live, or even if you're watching it a little bit later. Can you all hear me and see me okay? Just to make sure before we get started that you can all hear and see me just fine. I'm obviously in my office at school today. Wait just a minute to make sure. If someone could just thumbs up or yes or something, let me know in the chat. That would be amazing. Thank you, thank you. You can't hear me. Uh-oh. See, it looks like everything is okay on my end. You can hear me? Okay, Joelle, you can hear me. Chance, you cannot. Okay, Chance, you might try exiting out and then coming back in. That might help a little bit. I'm gonna put that in the chat because you probably can't hear me say that. Try exiting and coming back in. Right, that might be something to give a shot to. So my plan for today is we'll take a quick look at last week at week number 13. Okay, good. I'm glad you're set. And then we will talk about some reminders for this week. And then I just want to mention a couple of things as we get close to the end of the semester here. So let's go ahead and go over to Canvas together. Let me open that up here. And as I said, if you scroll all the way down, we are right here. We're in week number 14. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks left of the semester to go. Let's take a quick look at last week real fast, and then we can talk about what we have going on this week. So last week you were looking at stress and health. For your discussion, you were in charge of completing one of those kind of guided relaxation exercises. A few of you emailed me your favorite ones. Thank you so much for those of you who did that. I have them down. I saved all the links, and I'm excited to check them out. It's always nice to get some new ones. So if you didn't and you still have one that you'd like to share, please feel free to email it to me. But I enjoyed reading your reactions. A lot of you talked about struggling a little bit in the beginning and kind of getting distracted, but coming back. So really nicely done for the most part. I think a lot of you, said that you enjoyed the activity. So I'm glad. That makes me happy to hear. Really nice job describing how these kind of exercises help with reducing stress. So the biggest reason people lost points is just not quite giving me enough information there, not getting specific enough about some of the things that those things would help with, or a few of you missed this last question describing how you personally cope with your stress. Okay, good, Chance. I'm glad you can hear me clearly now. That's perfect. So for the most part, again, really nicely done. Most of you at this point are really, nailing all of the expectations and getting full points on these. We only have a couple discussions left, so keep up the wonderful work there. Don't forget to always respond to a classmate, of course, to get those 2 points. I enjoyed reading your comments on the self-assessment number 3. Thank you for your honesty. A lot of you said you were earning the grades that you wanted in the class, which is perfect and wonderful to hear. Really enjoyed reading some of your reflections. So again, thank you for filling that out and for your honesty. And I hope that that is a little bit helpful for you in kind of evaluating where you're at and where you want to go and so on. For this week, we move on to chapter 14. So we're looking at psychological disorders, which is what most people think of when they think of psychology. They think of mental illness and the disorders and therapy and so on. So for this week, of course, make sure that you read chapter 14 in the ebook, as always, and then you'll want to go through and complete the lecture that's on here, as usual. Remember, as always, you can listen to it or read it. So go through the summary and objectives, kind of an overview of what you will learn. The Beyond the Book page, I made a video about the models of abnormality that might be a little bit helpful for you. A little bit more about disorders of childhood, aging, and then psychosomatic and somatoform disorders. The In Pop Culture page, there's a lot of movies and television shows featuring mental illness. So many. Here's just a few. I listed a bunch of movies and some shows and books, but this is just barely scratching the surface of how many films and shows are all about mental illness. On the next page here, all the key terms that you need to know for this chapter. As usual, make sure you know all of these for the next exam, which is the final on these last couple of chapters. And then finally, on the last page, application, I wrote a little bit about suicidality and getting help and gave you a couple of web pages to visit for resources, thinking that that might be kind of helpful, a topic that we're covering a little bit in this unit. So make sure that you watch any videos that I include, click on all the links, read everything, explore all those topics as usual. You're also going to want to watch the chapter 14 lecture video that I made for you. So it's a Zoom link, so make sure that you click on that and go to that outside page. This one is about 42 minutes or so long. Of course, it has captions, and there's some clips in there. Make sure you're paying attention and taking notes. The materials on here will definitely be helpful for the exam. And then you do have a discussion as usual this week. So discussion number 14, if we take a look at that real fast. As always, this is worth 15 points, 13 points for your responses to my questions, and then 2 for your responses to a classmate. Don't forget to always watch my little video prompt to give you a little more information. But with this one, what I wanted to do was give you a very different perspective. So we're covering kind of the popular main perspective that people suffer from mental illnesses. We can diagnose them and treat them and so on. There is a very polar opposite perspective, just to give you a chance to think critically. And if you click on this link here, I've given you an excerpt from a book called The Myth of Mental Illness by a man named Thomas Szasz, a psychiatrist named Thomas Szasz. And this is very old. This was written in like the 1960s, but it's been referenced and updated and like talked about many, many times since. And it's the polar opposite perspective that mental illness is a myth. And I want you to have a chance to read and explore that idea a little bit. So if you click on this right here, it will bring up a page, and I've recorded it for you if you'd like to listen to me reading it to you instead of reading it yourself. But here is the excerpt from the book. It's a few pages long. Make sure you read through it or listen to it if you miss the sound of my voice. You're welcome to do that as well. But read from this little excerpt, this part of this text from back from 1960. And then once you've read through that, you're going to answer these 3 questions. Number 1, summarize Szasz's main ideas presented in his excerpt from his book. What are some of the reasons that he presents for as support for his claims of calling mental illness a myth? Number 2, do you agree with his thoughts about mental illness being a myth? Explain. You might violently agree or violently disagree or agree with some of it. I want to hear your opinion and thoughts on what you agree with or don't. And then number 3, do diagnoses stigmatize people? In what ways does a diagnosis help or hinder a person? Explain. And it might do a little bit of both. And you can always reference if you've ever been given a label or a diagnosis, how that might have affected you in any way. And when you're ready, go ahead and hit reply, and you can answer all of these questions. Of course, don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points of extra credit, or I'm sorry, 2 points of credit. I was thinking about the extra credit coming up here in a moment. Other than that, those are kind of the main things to do for this week. So read the chapter like usual, read through the lecture, watch the lecture video and take notes. Discussion number 14. I'll give you the optional Twitch extra credit in a moment here. I want to point one thing out. As I mentioned, we only have, after this week, we have week 15, 16, and 17. And I know as we near the end of the semester that our schedules get a little chaotic, and some of you maybe are traveling or taking summer classes. So what I'm doing is starting next week on week number 15, the last 3 weeks of the semester will all open up next Monday morning. And what that means is, in theory, if you wanted to work ahead and kind of finish things up early, you can. Those discussions and then the closing assignment and final exam will all be opened up to you. You don't have to get them done early. We will continue to go week by week, and I will still just focus on the week at hand when we do these Twitch sessions. But if you wanted to work a little bit ahead, knowing that you maybe have less time coming up, you have that freedom to do so. So I hope that gives you a little bit of flexibility. People tend to be kind of excited about that at the end of the semester, should you want to work ahead a little bit. And I'll remind you of that when I see you next week. I'll point it out at that point. Everything will be open. Otherwise, for this week, just worry about the materials for week number 14, and then you will be good to go. A couple of reminders for all of you while I'm waiting to see if any of you have any questions for me. I've mentioned this a few times. There's only 13 out of 112 of you that are subscribed here on Twitch. If you have the ability to renew that one last time, it's good for a month. That would cover you through the rest of the semester. I would really appreciate it. All of you who are on here, again, Chance, Joelle, Angelina, let's see, anybody else, Kylie, all of you, it has expired, so you only have that little crown next to your name. If you can take a minute to renew it, I would really appreciate it. It makes my life a million times easier. So I appreciate it if you have a chance to do that. Otherwise, let me put this in the chat, our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday. Wow, I can't type. Wednesday, 4/27 at 11:30 a.m. just like today. So our next Twitch live stream will want 1 week from today, week number 15. And again, I'll talk about those last weeks being opened up at that point. But we will have that next Wednesday morning at 11:30. Let me also give you the Twitch extra credit question so you can get the 2 points for joining me today. Put that here in the chat. So the extra credit question for this week is, what are 3 warning signs that someone might be suicidal? And what are 2 things that you could do to help them? So give me 3 warning signs that somebody might be suicidal, and then 2 things that you could possibly do to help that individual. And they can be small or they can be big or one of each. It's totally up to you. And when you're ready to answer that, you'll go back to Canvas and you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 14, since we're in week number 14. And then up here at the top, you can click on start assignment. And then you can type your response here in the box and hit submit assignment to get that little confetti burst, 2 points of extra credit. Ooh, panda bears, very exciting. So make sure that you go ahead and do all of that so you can get points for joining me today. And again, if you do have the ability to go and renew your subscription for 1 more month, that would be really, really helpful, just so I don't have to look each one of you up. Otherwise, kind of short and sweet today, 15 minutes or so, very typical week for us. As we near the end of the semester, I'll remind you of this a couple of times as well. Yes, Jennifer, yours shows up as set. It says you have a little football cake next to your name. So I am Jennifer. You are good to go. Thanks for asking, and thanks for checking. You're all set. You're one of the 13, so thank you. So I'm going to remind you probably every week the rest of the way, but at some point before we get to the end of the semester, please take a moment on Canvas and click on grades. And what I'd love for you to do is just make sure everything looks correct. You can see here you'll have your score and what it is out of. I have a shameful, 0 points in the class. I am failing my own class, for shame. But if anything looks incorrect or is missing and shouldn't be or is wrong, please reach out to me. That would be a really good time to let me know. We can address it and fix it before we hit the end of the semester. So if anything ever looks wrong, let me know and we'll take a look at it together. Really easy to fix before the class ends. Once the class has ended, very difficult to fix. So just at some point in the next few weeks, take a quick look. Otherwise, get going on the materials for this week. Don't forget to do the extra credit if you're interested, and I will hang out for a little while. If you have any questions for me or think of anything you want to ask, I will be here. If you're watching this later and you're subscribed, I have a record of your attendance, but otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I hope you all had a great Easter. I ate way too many Cadbury eggs, way too many, but I regret nothing. I would do it again. And I have a whole year before next Easter to get in the mood for them. so no harm done there. But I hope you all had a wonderful holiday if you celebrated. We only have a few weeks left of this semester, so hang in there. It's coming up quickly. Uh, as I said, I'll hang out for a little while. I'm going to minimize my video since that's kind of the end of what we have to cover today. But if you think of any questions, I am still here and would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, have a wonderful week. Hope you all are taking care of yourselves and hanging in there. So have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Wednesday morning for our next Twitch live stream. Thank you. You as well, Joelle. Thank you. Once everybody is logged off, I will go ahead and download this, and I will, of course, post a recording for all of you on Canvas. So if you missed part of this, you can watch it later, or if you're watching this later, you found it. But again, have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next Wednesday morning.